Welcome to Event Radio, covering local drag racing, stock car racing, motorcycles, go-karts. If it's got wheels and you can race it, you'll hear about it here. Event Radio is motorsports radio on steroids. Now, let's join your hosts, Spivvy Williams and Terrible T Guy.
All right, guys, welcome to the next edition of Event Radio. This is going to be a very special show. We're going to do something that is a little bit out of the norm, and we want to tell some of our listeners. We're going to probably be talking about some stuff that might be offensive to you, and if you're a big Allah lover and all that stuff, turn this darn thing off right now.
That's correct.
Because we don't do that. We don't believe in censoring any of this stuff. We're going to talk about what we believe in, and we're going to give you a little education. There is an organization that you will see if you go to the racetrack. You will see some decals, and you see some guys running around with shirts, and they have an RFC on their shirt. Now, that doesn't stand for, Rally's French fries or whatever. That stands for Racers for Christ. And I have the pleasure on this show of introducing you to one of the chaplains of that. And he's going to tell you just why he does what he does. He's going to tell you what the organization is. And he's going to tell you why a lot of the racers depend on it when they're really in need, and sometimes when they're just hurting a little bit. Not necessarily hurt from the race car, but their heart hurts a little bit. And these guys can actually bring you around. I know, being an ex-pro racer, there are times on the road that you get tired, you get worn out, and you don't want to do this stuff, man. It takes the fun out. And it's really, really cool to sit down and talk to one of these guys. They are very uplifting. I know every year at the boat show I get to introduce you to the guy over there that is in this organization, and he is just a super fella. And the gentleman I'm going to introduce you to on this show is a very dear friend of mine, been a friend a long time. He is a chaplain for Racers for Christ, but he's an ex-dragster driver, too. He knows all about going fast in a hurry, and he has done this stuff for a long time, and he's a very, very personable, nice guy. I think you're going to enjoy it. So we're going to take just a real quick break, say hi to Quick Fuel and Holly and some of the nice folks that ride with us on this journey, and we're going to be back and introduce you to my buddy, Mr. Alan Mansfield. You're on Event Radio, guys. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Quick Fuel Technology, the innovators in fuel systems, introduces the latest in high-temperature coating technology for select street and performance carburetors. QFT's new Black Diamond series features a unique satin black Teflon coating that provides award-winning good looks and lasting durability. The Black Diamond series is impact-resistant, repels all underhood chemicals, and reduces fuel temperature by 6% for improved performance. The Black Diamond series by Quick Fuel, the ultimate in form and function.
All right, guys, we are back from the Racer for Christ show, and this is going to be cool. I get to introduce you to my buddy, Mr. Alan Mansfield, and we're going to learn a lot. What's going on, bud?
Hot weather.
Yeah, a little hot, ain't it?
A little toasty out there today.
Hey, buddy, I tell you what, if it was nice and cool, you'd be at the lake on a boat or something. You want to ride my pontoon?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've only hit everything but the lottery on that thing, buddy. I mean, I can't, driving a race car, and you've driven some really fast rear-engine dragsters.
Correct.
Nothing is as hard as driving a pontoon boat. Now, I don't care what anybody says. It's like driving a slinky. You don't want to.
It is once you get used to it. The learning curve.
Well,
it's kind of like pontoon boats. In my opinion, learning to drive those is kind of like driving an altered.
Oh, it goes where it wants.
Pretty much. My first experience in an altered, coming out of a 288-inch wheelbase dragster that I was used to, and sitting down inside of an altered, and I had to use the steering wheel a whole lot.
Well, the thing about it, though, it will still relatively go where you point it. The pontoon boat, the wind is blowing it out of the way. You're turning it. It ain't got enough power to pull a hat off your head. And it doesn't go. I mean, I had to rent 2 slips, Alan, to even be able to park it, And I'm just not that good at it, but we're having fun. And so far we haven't killed anybody yet, and we haven't totaled another boat yet. So we're learning. But anyway, you've been around racetracks forever.
Since dirt.
Since dirt, yeah, okay.
Pretty
All right.
much.
You mean since the drag strip was dirt?
Exactly.
I know. I know. I was there too.
You was.
What in the world got you from drag racer to chaplain?
It wasn't the plan.
I didn't figure it was.
Let's put it that way. You know, I started drag racing when I was 15 years old, so 27, 28 years now,
Okay.
and enjoyed every minute of it. You know, started out in a bracket car that ran 1450s, 1460s, 68 Chevelle that I bought from Uncle Phil Wheeler.
Okay.
Got me my first hot rod, and I loved it. And, of course, you know, you and Dad go way back till the 60s, and, of course, both
Thanks.
of y'all
Tell
was-
everybody how old I am,
Well,
will
you
you?
know.
That's good. That's real nice. And I did like you, but I'm getting to where, go ahead.
You know, you and Dad were drag racing back then, and you know, as a kid growing up, I was always around cars. Dad, Gary Meager, Punkin Meredith, Lavoy Birch, doing car shows, and then as I got to the age, you know, where I could drive, that's what I wanted to do. And the racing part of it, I was very blessed and very lucky. Number one, I never got hurt,
That's a good thing.
never had a bad fire,
That's pretty good too.
and never crashed.
There you go. That's the essentials.
So, you know, those three right there, I
Did
consider.
you ever win anything? I mean,
I
if you
did,
didn't do
yeah.
all that,
We-
I know you did.
I
I'm
was
playing.
lucky. I was very blessed. I got to win a lot of races, a few championships along the way. Several,
I know. I'm playing with you, and you know it.
several, you know, runner-up finishes and championship points.
So
know.
you were the bridesmaid. in other
Always
words.
the
A lot of-
bridesmaid,
okay,
yeah.
That's all right.
I think for a period of about 4 or 5 years, Gary Meager and myself battled out in the old Scotty's shootout series on Saturday nights.
Yeah, there you go.
And I was his bridesmaid 4 or 5 years in a row.
Well, that's
Just
okay. You got to do that. You got to be the bridesmaid for your bride. John Force was a bridesmaid for years.
For years.
And then he finally won one, and he figured out how to do it, and, of course, he's never quit. The Racers for Christ, what got you involved in that?
As I kept throughout the years racing different things, you know, I drove for you a little bit, drove for some other teams, drove for some other racers, built a few cars of my own, and had a lot of fun. Got to run some of the Division II and Division III races, some national events, running Comp Eliminator. Did some heads-up stuff for a while, and had an opportunity to go work for a pro team. And about this time, my son, Tyler, was probably 5 years old.
Okay.
And I had the opportunity, like I said, to go work for a pro team. And soon as that offer was made to me, a week later, I got full custody of him. And he's lived with me ever since. Of course, he's graduated high school and off to college.
And he's doing the radio of the deal at Western at the university. So
That's correct.
I got to give the boy a shameless plug there because he does do a good job. I don't know. Where did he get that? Did he get that from you?
He must have.
I don't know.
And it's not just the radio. He's a phenomenal journalist. He's,
I know. I've read some of his stuff. He's good.
writing for ESPN and a couple other, news sources. So,
Yeah, but you could have been a radio guy along with it, but you elected to follow the right way. You elected. I think that most of the guys that, and I'm going to speak for myself, and because I've been in a couple of hairy situations in a race car, in a funny car, and I talked to Rich Vreeland, the Harley racer, that's the big religious fella, and I said, God sort of watched after me. And I'm just thankful I didn't hurt him, because I could have. And I think most of the real race car guys have had an experience that even if you thought God was real, that confirmed it. It made it where he is,
Absolutely.
And maybe that's what happened to you. I don't know.
It more or less was, when I got custody of him, I still continued to race. Mm-hmm. But we had an instance down at Memphis, and I want to say it was around 2005 or 2006 in the comp car. Had a different guy helping me that weekend, and too much going on, not enough help. I wasn't checking over his work like I should have. Mm-hmm. Anytime you're going 200-plus miles an hour, you really need to triple-check things. Mm-hmm. And to make a long story short, had an oil line come off, got on the tires, went against the rev limiter, and we brushed the wall. And I got the car stopped, got the chutes out, got off the track, got out of it, and I don't think well, I had to change shorts. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, and I've done that.
It was a little rough.
I've actually where I had to throw mine away.
Yeah, well, that was
I mean, it happens.
But you get to the point to where what's important. and what's not. And, I kept playing the scenario of what if.
Yeah.
And I knew at that time that probably the best scenario for me was to step out of the car, even though I didn't want to. And I took a couple of years off from racing. I actually didn't even go to the racetrack for a couple of years because you know how it is. It's like drugs.
Being on drugs.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Once you get it in your system, you can't get it out. So I had to stay away for a couple of years. And a good friend of mine, Barry LaRue, superstock racer out of Russellville, was with RFC, and I met him out Beach Bend several years ago at one of the events. And we had a Chrysler event coming up, and he said, "Hey, would you mind helping me for the weekend?" Sure, I don't mind a bit. I'm a Mopar guy. Be glad to be there. And that's what kind of got the ball rolling.
But how did you decide that you really wanted to join them?
A lot of prayer.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that it?
I was at a crossroads. Either I had to A, walk away completely, B, spend a lot of money to build another car, or C, I could do this, still be out there, and not spend any money.
Okay, all right.
And I prayed about it, thought about it a whole lot, talked to a lot of people.
So you've been a religious guy for a while.
I grew up just like most kids in the Bible Belt. Grew up going to church with my parents and stuff, and it. The older I got, I learned that it just wasn't about stepping foot in a building. It's about a personal relationship.
And going to church makes you religious about going to church makes you, I don't know. It makes you a Christian about standing in the garage makes you a car.
Correct.
I mean, it just doesn't. That ain't it.
No, that's not it at all.
What's the saying out of the Bible? I think that where two or more gathered, I will be there with you.
That's
or
correct.
something. I mean, you know more about that.
Paraphrase, but that's close enough.
Well, it gets the general idea.
That's correct.
And I'm a kind of guy that is a strong believer in God. I don't go to church as much as I should. I usually go to Artie Fulcher's church out there at Beach Bend or wherever I am racetrack-wise with Event Radio. If they're holding a service, yeah, I go. I do. But I believe in God. I'm a 32nd degree Mason. And all they require is that you believe in God. Everything else is sort of secondary. But still, I have had enough relationship myself, and I've learned that it's true. He does answer all prayers, but sometimes the answer is no.
Correct.
And people don't realize that. They think that everything they ask he should do, and that's not true.
The answer either is yes, no, or not now, or I got something better.
Right. Okay.
And that's what it boils down to. And, my thing was, for years, all I wanted to do, like most kids that grew up drag racing, I wanted to race professionally.
Yeah.
And that takes two things. It takes a sponsor and a lot of money.
That's right. What's a guy asked me one time, he said, "What does it take to race a funny car?" I said, "Hey, that's real simple." He said, "What do you mean it's simple?" I said, "Well, first off, you got to want to ride a Roman candle that's going to explode under you at any minute, and you got to hate money." He said, "If you do those two things, funny cars in your future real easy. It's not a problem, and it is so expensive. The
expense of it is insane. The conversation I had one time with Don Garlitz out at Beach Bend during the Hot Rod reunion, and I heard him say this, and this has always stuck with me. The quickest way to make $1 million drag racing is to start with two.
That's right. That's right.
So when you get done, you'll have $1 million left if you're lucky.
And another saying is race cars will make you moderately wealthy if you're a millionaire to start with.
That's correct.
So and they will, but yet there is no other high, there is no other fix, there is no other anything that you get the adrenaline rush on that can equal it. I know I've tried, Alan. I've tried everything under the sun.
Me and you both.
To find that. And it's not there.
Mm-mm.
It's not there. I tried to play golf. I knocked the wind out of the window out of the house at Heartland. I tried off-road buggies. I did pretty good there. Bent 400, had fun, but didn't do well. Tried racing motorcycles and almost killed myself on that deal. And I've tried so many things, and nothing gets there. Nothing does. Even tried to learn to fly an airplane. That was a real champ. And then now I'm convinced that I can't drive a pontoon boat either. So it's you try and do things, and it just doesn't work.
I think a half a day on the lake with me, I can teach you how to drive the pontoon.
Well, it's not the lake; it's the parking.
That's not a problem. I can teach you how to do that.
No, I don't know, buddy. I don't know. I'm the only guy around had to rent 2 slips to be able to park it. So and it's pretty tough, but it's fun. It's a fun thing.
just like being at the racetrack, going back to RFC, Vince Otway, who you've met at the KDBA races, the chaplain up there, super guy. He come down a couple months ago and stayed with me during the Sports Nationals. His wife Janie, super group, and Vince got me. I'd never been to a drag boat race. I've watched it on TV like everybody else had, and I never been.
Great. They're great.
And the first time I went, I thought, you know what, these guys,
They're
I
crazy.
thought I was crazy driving some of the stuff I drove.
Oh, no.
No, they're really crazy.
Hold that thought just a minute. We got to take a real quick break. Guys, we're having just a blast. We're talking to my buddy, Mr. Alan Mansfield, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. And if you're in the religious mode and you think yours is the only way and yours is only right, turn this thing off. We don't mean to offend you, but we don't care if we do. You're on Event Radio. We'll be right back.
On the track or on the street, the #1 brand in performance is Holley. Have you heard about the Ultra Street Avengers, Ultra Double Pumpers, Ultra HP, and Ultra Dominator carburetors? They're ultra light, ultra cool, and ultra fast. Holley carbs are the most powerful carbs money can buy with no further modifications. Holley, winning performance for over 100 years.
All right, guys, you're back on Event Radio, and we've got my buddy, Mr. Alan Mansfield. On the Racers for Christ deal, can anybody do that?
Yes.
In other words, if you want to join it and you want to become a chaplain, is there a test or is there what? How does that work?
Lord, if it was a test, I'd have failed.
Well, no, not really, I don't guess. But how do you do it?
It's really, oddly enough, it's actually a really simple but yet in-depth process.
Okay, tell me.
I'll give you a perfect example. Dear sweet friend of mine, Janet Henderson, that you know.
Yes.
Janet was wanting to become involved. She called me and she's like, what do I have to do? That's real simple. I'll call corporate down in Arizona. I'll have a packet mailed to you. You fill it out. And there's some other portions of it that your pastor and some other chaplains have to fill out. You send it all back in. Larry Smiley and the rest of the crew from RFC, they pray over it, they think about it, and then they contact you. And then, myself, I usually talk to you a little bit if you're in this region where I'm at, Division 3, and then Vince Otway, who is our assistant regional director, will come meet with you and sit down, and if you meet his good graces, then he gives you the holy blessing, and a few short weeks later, your shirt arrives, your business cards arrived, and you're ready to go.
And then what do you do with it now that you've got it?
That's anything you can imagine.
I want to know. I know that I know lots of times. Wait a minute, lots of times, and I've watched Vince. You do an opening prayer for the event,
correct?
And then I sort of lose track. I don't know what happens after that.
Well, there's a couple of things. There's numerous events you can be involved in. Whether it's rock calling, street rod, drag racing, drag boat, there's numerous things you can do. We are out at Beach Bend usually about 12 to 15 events a year. Outside of doing the opening ceremonies on Elimination Day, there's also a chapel service on Elimination Day, usually in the mornings.
Okay, all right.
It could be a 7 a.m. start time or 8 or 9, depends on what it is. We put flyers throughout the facility, letting people know. We give a flyer to the announcer. He announces it several times throughout the day. And we have a lot of, in the drag racing world, in the hot rod world, a lot of celebrities that actually come. The man with probably the greatest announcing voice ever from NHRA, Dave McClellan. Mm-hmm. He always comes when he's here for the hot rod reunion.
Yeah.
Alan Reinhart, Don Garlitz, one of my racing mentors from the comp days, David Rampy.
Oh, David's a dear friend of mine.
Super guy.
He's a dear friend.
And, we're in the staging lanes. We pray with drivers. Funny story, Dave Harada.
I know Dave
his
well.
dad. His dad goes back to the
Kenny. I know him well.
Old Nitro days from the 50s and 60s. Dave's a good friend of mine, super guy. Used to run an A-Fuel car, and they still have an A-Fuel car that he has someone else driving
Mia
now.
Tedesco drives it.
Yeah, Mia does. And Dave, when he gets in the car and he starts strapping in, his head looks like a little bobblehead dog because he is looking for a chaplain somewhere in that vicinity to get over to him, get the prayer done, then he's ready to go.
Yeah.
and he doesn't like to fire the car. He doesn't like to suit up. He don't want his helmet on. And it's not just him. Numerous people.
So you spend a lot of time in the staging lanes. Is that
A lot
what
of
you're
times,
saying?
especially, national events, especially when the Pro Stock, Pro Mod, and the fuel cars are running. Even your the Nostalgia Drag Racing League, your Pro 7.0, Pro
Yeah,
750,
sure,
comp
sure.
guys. People, anything can happen on the racetrack, regardless of what speed you're going. I've seen guys.
Of course.
I've seen fatalities from people driving a 12-second car and people that unfortunately lost their life in a 6-second car or 5-second car.
And there's been a lot of that happening lately. A lot of that.
Unfortunately, and we know that when we get in the car.
Yeah.
That's the risk that we take, and nobody knows what's going to happen.
No.
You're sitting inside of a machine that's making enormous amounts of horsepower. When you stab that throttle and you point it, because that's what you do, you point it. You don't steer it.
That's true.
And you hold on for dear life, and you pray to the good Lord that you stay sunny side up. You cross the finish line, you drop the laundry off, and you get to come back and do it again sometime.
Yeah, I know. I've been there.
You've done it several times too.
I've done it a lot.
We've both
I've done
made a
it
few
lot.
thousand passes over the years.
I've done it a lot, and it's a situation that there have been times in my life that somebody else drove that car and not me. And there have been times that the car has done funny things that it never did before that actually saved one instance, and it happened to my friend Daryl when Daryl was driving the rear engine alcohol car that I had.
Right.
We were in Memphis, in Riverside Raceway in Nashville, and Daryl said, made a run. The car was sitting on the starting line, clutch out, light green. The other guy already gone, and it's sitting there running wide open and never moved.
Mm-hmm.
The other guy crashed. It would have been in our lane, would have been on top of us. He lost his life in that run. I asked Daryl, I said, what happened? He said, I don't know. He said, I let the clutch out. It wouldn't move. It didn't move. And he said, I sat there. It seemed like an hour, although it was just a second or two. It was just enough to let the guy get far enough out on us that there was no accident. How did that happen? You can only base that on a little help from God. It wasn't our time.
That's correct.
It wasn't our time yet. And I'm a firm believer that when you're born, you're given so much time.
Correct.
And you can use it wisely, or you can speed it up. That's your call. But there are times that accidents do happen, and it may be somebody else's time and not yours. So things will help you, and God will help you, and so you got to place faith in it. You gotta realize that there is a higher power. You got to realize, and something I've noticed, and I keep going back to this pontoon deal, and Lord knows I can't drive it, but one of the prettiest times, Alan, of having the pontoon is about 6 o'clock at night, 6 to 7 on the lake. The water is deathly still. But you see every miracle that God has made, from sunsets to animals to birds to everybody that has a place in this world that He has created. And at that time of day, you get to see that up there. And I think that's my favorite thing about having the pontoon. I think that to go there and, of course, me try to cook a hamburger and I destroy them. I can't cook. But my girlfriend, I haven't poisoned her yet.
You go.
I'm close, but I haven't poisoned her. But she turned me on to going here and actually stopping and watching the world go by, not being so busy that you forget about things. You take it for granted. And there's a lot of people, guys, and guys out there, even if you're a racer listening to this, stop a minute. Just stop and look around you. And if you cannot believe in God, after looking at all the things that this world has to offer and the things that have been created, you've hit your head. Something's wrong with you, because it can't be. Am I pretty close?
Oh, you're spot on. You're talking about the lake at sunset. Mine, on the other hand, is the lake at sunrise.
Okay.
Dew coming off the water, and
I
you're
don't
sitting
get- I
there on
don't
the
get up
boat.
there early.
Well, I'm up. I'm up early, so.
Yeah.
But it's magical. Last summer, my son worked out at Beach Bend, flipping the switch on the Christmas tree.
Okay.
And I think it was during the Hot Rod reunion, and I think it was Jim Baird got a photo of him flipping the tree.
Yeah.
And there's 2 dragsters in each lane, and the sun is setting at the end of the racetrack.
I've seen that picture.
Phenomenal.
Gorgeous.
And you look at that, and I mean, how can you not believe?
Well, I mean, how do you look at the grass? How do you look at trees? How do you look at childbirth? How do you look at anything out here? And believe, it's like Rich Vreeland told me. He said, I've never seen a fish walk. And he said, if we came from monkeys, how come there's still monkeys?
There's still monkeys out there.
Yeah,
Correct.
So he looks at things, and he's a pretty nice guy, guys. If you ever go to the Harley drags, look for Vreeland Harley Davidson. He actually holds a church service every Saturday night at 8 o'clock.
Correct.
At every Harley event there is. And he's a great guy. He's a super guy. And he sort of gives the exact opposite to what you believe a Harley racer is, I mean, he's a great guy. But just like that, how can you look around at things and think this just happened? Don Gartlitz is the biggest one that says, surely you're not stupid enough to think that this just happened by itself.
Oddly enough, there are people that still think that. And it's over the years, it's gotten a little bit worse. At the end of the day, though, when we're at the racetrack, walking the staging lanes, or we're at the finish line, or we're on the starting line, me personally, when your Nostalgia Top Fuel and Nostalgia Funny cars run, I'm usually standing between the 2 cars at the starting line, right behind the guy flipping the switch.
Right.
And I've done that since I've been involved with the RFC, and I think this is my 9th season that I'm completing right now.
Okay.
And I've always stood there, and I don't know, something, I think God put it on my heart to always be there when those cars run, and I stand there.
Well,
and it's,
you're probably very comforting to the guys that are in the cars, and it's most racers, they got their head screwed on right. They wouldn't be out there doing it if they didn't have it screwed on right. They know what's going on.
Absolutely.
And I would say, I would almost say 9 out of 10 are very much God believers. The
True.
ones I have met. Correct. You go to one of Artie Fulcher's services, and you're going to see a packed grandstand, a whole lot more than when watch his first round of Top Fuel.
Mm-hmm.
And so, guys, you need to just try it. Don't take my word or Alan's word or this radio show or anything else. Open your eyes and look around.
It's like, I met a guy during the Hot Rod reunion this year, and we were talking in staging lanes, and he said, I don't like to go to church. He said, there's way too many hypocrites there. I was like, well, that's why they're there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, it's not a hospital for well people, it's a hospital for sick people.
That's true.
And I explained to him, I said, tell you what, I said, tomorrow morning you have nothing to lose. I said, come down to chapel service at 8 o'clock. I said, just hang out with us. I said, we're not like, going to a regular service. I'm like, we're 15, 20 minutes. We wrap it up. We're done. I know racers have got things to do. They got cars to get ready. Elimination day.
That's right.
You have to be prepared. I said, come down, spend 15, 20 minutes with us. And I'm like, just see for yourself what we do.
There you go.
And he said, you know what? I'll do that. And he came down, and he sat 3rd or 4th row up. I can't remember. And give a little talk for about 10 or 15 minutes. Closed it out, and everybody comes by. That part of it's kind of like church. They come by and shake your hand. Good
Sure,
job.
of course.
And he come by and he said, I have never experienced anything like that in my life. He's like, it was so simple. He said, you said some things. He said, you talked to where I can understand it, and he said it makes sense. And
and a lot of that really happened to me. A lot of our listeners know, but some of them don't know that my wife died 1.5 years ago of cancer, and I don't mind telling you, I was a little mad at God about that, but yet we have I talk to him more now than I ever have in my life, and I talked to a friend of mine that is a minister, and I said, how do I know if I'm doing it right? And he said, you can't do it wrong.
Exactly.
There's
no wrong way.
No. He said, you just talk to him like we talk.
That's correct.
And he'll listen. And I've been doing it, and, I've been doing it for 1.5 years, sometimes as much as twice a day, because I'm pretty screwed up. I do some messed up stuff. And the prayers have been answered. They've been answered.
The great thing about it that throughout my years growing up and then really becoming involved in this over the last 8 or 9 years, there's not a wrong way to do it. And people have this huge misconception that, well, he's not going to accept me until I get perfect. Well,
That's
nobody's perfect.
No.
You know, it's real funny. I had a friend of mine come down from Indy one year and talked at one of the events at Beach Bend. And he stood up and he asked how everybody was doing. Everybody, we're fine, we're great, we're glad to be here. And he's like, does anybody here ever say a cuss word besides the preacher? And held his hand up. And this poor lady, I don't know what denomination she went to, but her eyes were as big as round as a set of Top Fuel tires.
Yeah, I understand.
And, nobody's perfect. Everybody's human, and we all make mistakes. I mean, there's things that we say, things we do. And I know God's got a sense of humor because every day he has to look at me and he just shakes his head. He's like, son, maybe one day you'll learn.
Got a sense of humor because he put my fat butt in a pontoon boat and expected me to drive it.
There you go.
And so, he's laughing. There's no doubt about it. We got to take a quick break, Alan, and talk to our nice sponsors from Quick Fuel, Gearhead Gazette, Holly, all the guys that make this possible. Guys, you're on Event Radio. We're having just a big time. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Quick Fuel Technology, the innovators in fuel systems, introduces the latest in high-temperature coating technology for select street and performance carburetors. QFT's new Black Diamond series features a unique satin black Teflon coating that provides award-winning good looks and lasting durability. The Black Diamond series is impact-resistant, repels all underhood chemicals, and reduces fuel temperature by 6% for improved performance. The Black Diamond series by Quick Fuel, the ultimate in form and function.
All right, guys, you are back on Event Radio, and we're here with my buddy, Mr. Alan Mansfield, and the Racers for Christ. He is a chaplain with them, and we're learning a little bit about it. But he does some other stuff too. I mean, this guy's a pretty entrepreneur guy. He's got the world's greatest stuff to take care of your car. We got to find out about that a little bit. What is that stuff?
McGuire's Professional Line Detail Products.
Well, I've had Barry McGuire on this show. He is a great guy.
Phenomenal guy, super guy.
Yeah, he even liked me, and I couldn't believe it. And his wife even hugged my neck. I couldn't believe that either. But he's a really, really nice fella, and they make some killer stuff.
They do. A lot of people, the McGuire's name is kind of like Coca-Cola. When you go to a restaurant and you ask for a Coke.
Yeah.
Whether it's Pepsi or RC, whatever they're serving, you always ask for a Coke.
Sure you do.
It's the same thing with detail products.
Yeah.
McGuire's, hands down, is the best. They have the amount of time and money they spend on engineering products to enhance your vehicle, your street rod, whatever it may be, is astounding.
Oh, I know.
And they have put in the research and development they do is mind-boggling to me. I've used their products my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
About 8 years ago, I got involved with their professional line products.
Yeah.
Well,
you are let's back up. You are a car dealer. You are in with Robinson Auto Sales and stuff. So, believe it or not, this guy, you could actually buy a car from him. I don't know that I'd trust him in the car business, but no, I would. I'm just playing. But they have some nice stuff. They got Harleys and they got race cars in the showroom, and they got big old golf carts, and they got all kinds of cool stuff.
We sell everything: Harleys, golf carts, race cars, late model vehicles, diesels, Jeeps. We
virtually have
as long as it doesn't eat.
You sell it.
We'll sell it, and we'll trade for it as well.
Well, I tell you what, if this pontoon deal don't work up, you may be trading for one of them because I sure can't drive it. But, it's Barry McGuire and them have always made really good stuff. Now, one thing, guys, that you may not realize, and I advise you to really try this, you can take that detailer. You take your race car. You take that detailer, and you make a pass without it. Then you put it on your race car, and you make another pass. You're going to see that thing pick up because the wind can go over it so much quicker.
It is so ironic you mentioned that. One of my great friends, Stan Hunter, drives a 32 Bantam Altered, and I crew with him a lot on the NDRL races. We was at Beach Bend a couple years ago with the good guys. Car was dirty, the wheels looked bad, and I said, give me 15 minutes. Got the car done, and we've got a crew chief pro that predicts what the car is going to run, and we run a 950 index in Nostalgia Pro Comp. And it was saying he was going to run like a 954. Mm-hmm. And I got done. I said, well, hang on. I went through, and we used the Last Touch Quick Detailer over the body. We polished the wheels real quick with Jeff Smith Bright, which I am a dealer for now as well.
That's good stuff. Buddy.
It's good, bad stuff.
If they
It's
just had
awesome.
new elbows, boy, you got my stuff would even look good.
That's correct. Well, we got Stan's car all cleaned up. We get to the staging lanes, and he's like, "What do you think it's going to do?" I said, "Well, now that the dirt's off of it, the car should run about 300s quicker." He's like, "Well, that'd be a 951." It went a 950 with a 9.
Pretty close.
Pretty close.
But I know it helps. I mean, I know that, believe it or not, we actually did the funny car body between rounds, and which didn't really make sense, but it actually helped. And guys, if you've got a race car out there, number one, you need to look professional, whether you do or not. And that's one of my pet peeves on the new motorsports park. Some of those things look like they came from a junkyard. Instead of, I mean, there's a trailer out there that a $1 spray can of paint from the dollar store would do wonders. But you need to present a professional image. You are representing motorsports, and if you can't present a professional image, you don't have any business to be in it.
That is true. So many people, you have to educate people. You know, and I go into a local parts store here, I see people aimlessly wandering the detail aisle, picking up bottles and not knowing what they're picking up, not knowing what they're buying, or how to use it.
Yeah.
And then you get into a different aspect of it. You know, Meguiar's came out last year with this new Orbital DA buffer. First company to do so. Mm-hmm. And it has a switch on it where you can actually control the RPM. Mm. And they devised some new products. It's a paint restoration system on how to buff a car. And
really?
Use this one if it's this bad, or this one, and then it gives you a 2 or 3 step process on how to do it.
That's good.
I was using their old style buffer, and I actually put a rheostat switch on it to control the RPM because I didn't want it going as fast as what it did.
It'll burn the stuff up.
Right, it's wide open or nothing.
Yeah.
You know, the days of the wool pads are long gone.
Yeah, right.
You know, everything has changed. I got this buffer, and a good friend of mine, Curtis Butler, he had that black Dodge Viper, and someone had attempted to buff it, and it's black, so it was covered in swirl marks. Mm-hmm. I did a quarter. I handed Curtis the buffer. He did the door. I taught him how to use the buffer in 15 minutes. Wasn't a swirl mark on it.
That's cool.
So this new,
if you can teach Curtis to do anything in 15 minutes, you're a wizard.
I'm telling you.
No, he's a good guy.
He is a great guy. He's a good friend of mine, and he buys a ton of this product from me.
Yeah.
And I go to a lot of street rod shows, a lot of car shows.
Well, let me ask you something. How can they buy it from you? How can they do that?
Real simple. It's Winner's Circle Car Care Products.
Okay.
Reach me by phone.
All right, give them the number.
270-779-0400.
Okay.
I keep all this in stock.
Okay.
And I do now. What I carry, you can't buy in the store. I don't carry the retail line. I carry the professional line stuff. I set up at, I'm always at Beach Bend. I set up at a lot of car shows, Shades of the Past, the Grand Rod Run.
Street Rod
Nationals coming up. I'll be at Good Guys, be at Tri-5 Nationals at Beach Bend next weekend. So I'm anywhere you can just about bet. And if you can't, you can always call me, and I can ship the stuff to you.
There you go.
The Last Touch spray detailer is probably my biggest seller, especially at car shows. Guys love that stuff. It's simple. It's quick. The top secret chemicals that they put in there, and I'll just use the word polymer, and I'll stop it there with that.
I don't even know what that is.
It absolutely makes the paint pop on a vehicle, and it protects it.
That's good, yeah.
They've got in the glass cleaner, the super degreaser. A lot of the guys, actually a lot of racers buy this stuff.
Yeah.
There's a particular chemical that I sell. The biggest drawback about a drag car is the rubber on the quarter panels.
Oh, sure.
Or on a door car anyway.
Yeah.
This product here, you spray it, and you don't scrub. You spray, and you wipe, and you're done.
Cool.
No more leftover rubber on the quarter panels.
I mean, so it's even an old fat guy like me could use it, huh?
A one-armed bandit could do it.
Okay.
It's that simple.
All right. Well, listen, my friend, we, as bad as I hate to, we've got to make this end. But we've had fun, and we've been, I think we've educated some folks, and I hope we've done it in the right way. I hope that with the little show we've done, we can at least open your eyes to what's out there, and you'll get, if nothing else, curious enough to look for yourself and try to find out a little bit about what we're saying, and I think everybody should,
There's a lot of people, especially at the racetrack, I want them to feel welcome and feel at home and not feel pressured into something.
And not intimidated
by it. And a lot of them will come up and ask us questions, and we'll go off to the side and discuss some stuff. And one thing in particular, I'll share this with you before we close. Several years ago, I had been a chaplain maybe a couple of years, and I was a head track chaplain at Beach Bend. And we had a gentleman walk up. Chapel service had already started, and he sat way away from everybody else. And there's probably 65, 70 people there.
Yeah.
And I looked down and, saw him and kind of nodded my head. And at the end of the service, he kind of hung around till everybody had almost left. Mm-hmm. And as I was standing there, a lady approached me, and she said, I just wanted to bring it to your attention that guy sitting down there by himself was drinking a beer. I said, well, ma'am, he's in the right place to be.
That's right.
And I think my answer to her kind of put her off a little bit, and that wasn't my concern. My concern was the gentleman sitting down here by himself.
Yeah. Why was he afraid to come up there,
So he approached me. He walked up to me, and he said, thank you. I appreciate this. He said, I haven't been to church, he said, in probably 5 or 6 years. He said, matter of fact, he said, I hadn't even prayed in 5 or 6 years. And I said, well, I'm glad you're here, and I appreciate you being here. He said, no, he said, you don't understand. He said, I've been here all weekend. He said, my wife had passed away about 5 years ago. He said, my kids don't talk to me. He said, I was miserable. And he said, this weekend was going to be my last big hurrah for racing. He said, I was planning on killing myself when I got back home. And he said, but because of what you said today, and he said, you guys opened it up to me, he said, I now have a reason to live.
Well, we a lot of us have been there. A lot of us have had those crazy thoughts, and you suffer a lot of loss, and a lot of loss takes a long time to get over.
It does.
And some of them maybe you never get over. But the thing that helped me more on a loss situation, and I'll share this with the people, if you believe in God and you are taught from a child that you are to live your life so that when that time comes, when your number comes up, that you're going to go to a place that's a lot better, and you happen to lose somebody that you feel you've lost too early, don't grieve a whole lot, because they're getting to go where they've spent their whole life wanting to go and spent their whole life getting ready to go if they're religious and they go to church. So don't be so selfish that you want them back, because they're in a lot better place than you are. Or I think so.
Well, that is absolutely correct, and something I'm going to leave everybody with, every day when we get out of bed and start our day, everybody faces all types of temptations, trials, adversity. It's just life.
Sure it is.
And it's how you react to it.
Sure.
Instead of being reactionary to everything, become proactive to everything. Change your mindset.
That's right.
And the simplest thing, it's a simple verse, and I tell them I have to remind myself of this every day. It's real simple. It's in the Old Testament, Joshua 1:9. Be strong and courageous.
That's right. And learn to love the ones that are still here.
That's correct.
You can't bring the ones that are gone back, but you can love the ones that are still here. And give them a chance. Let them, everything's happening for a reason. You may not know what the reason is, but get a little comfort. Thank God for everything. And believe in Him no matter what you conceive Him to be. It's okay.
Absolutely.
Alan, we'll be right back.
On the track or on the street, the #1 brand in performance is Holley. Have you heard about the Ultra Street Avengers, Ultra Double Pumpers, Ultra HP, and Ultra Dominator carburetors? They're ultra light, ultra cool, and ultra fast. Holley carbs are the most powerful carbs money can buy with no further modifications. Holley, winning performance for over 100 years.
Well, guys, that's about it on our Racer for Christ show. We want to thank Mr. Alan Mansfield for coming. We didn't mean to take you to church, but it didn't hurt anything if we did. And We've had fun. We've done a lot. We've exposed you to some really cool car care products that you can get from Allen, and give it a shot and make your old ride look pretty good. You know, it doesn't need to look like a death wagon forever. So make it look good, and you'll be surprised. It'll even be worth more money if you bring it down here to trade it to him. As always, guys, before we end our broadcast, we have to thank our people that are most important to us next to you, the listener. We thank our sponsors, the great people at Holley Performance. They own so many companies. If you can't find a part for your hot rod at Holley, you don't have a hot rod.
That's correct.
It's real simple. You don't have a hot rod. And so call Holley.com, help them out there, and they'll help you out. Just get them on the phone and say, hey, I need one of these. Even if you don't know what one of these is, they do. So give them a shot. The great guys at Quick Fuel Technologies, the best carburetor builders on the planet. I don't care who you go or where you go or whatever. Be careful when you open your box because you're going to have a little gas smell that comes there because every one of the carburetors is put on a motor and run before it's put in the box. So when you get it, it's doing exactly what you bought it to do. Quick Fuel is the only company in the world that does that. Give them a shot. Our good friends at Beach Bend Park, Beach Bend Raceway, Beach Bend Splash Lagoon. Yeah, you know, Beach Bend Lagoon is the only place this fat boy can go and get my whole body wet at one time. So it's a lot of fun out there. There's a lot of fun things to do. Water slides, the Kentucky Rumbler roller coaster, all the shows. My good friend, the magicians, and everybody. You'll have a great fun day at Beach Bend Park, Beach Bend Raceway, and Beach Bend Splash Lagoon. Give them a shot. It's the most fun way to spend a summer day. Last but not least, the one and only GearheadGazette.com. It makes no difference what event you're going to go to. Get on the computer, GearheadGazette.com. Jimmy B and the guys, they put up the best stuff going on in our whole region. If you find it there, it's cool, or they don't have it. They don't put up any junk. But you can go on that site, learn who, what, when, and where of everything that's going on in the car hobby. GearheadGazette.com. They are the man, if you will. We appreciate you listening to Event Radio more than you know. We try to bring you shows just like this that are different. They're maybe not what you expect, but they're what you are glad that you listened to after you did. And we hope you enjoy it. One thing we want to tell you, if you've enjoyed what you've heard, please tell a friend. If you don't, you keep that to yourself. Guys, we appreciate you listening, and we'll talk again.
You've been listening to Event Radio, covering local drag racing, stock car racing, motorcycles, go-karts. If it's got wheels and you can race it, you heard about it here. Event Radio is motorsports radio on steroids. Join us next time with your hosts, Spivey Williams and Terrible T Guy.